Hey everybody, this is Cameron from Obnoxious and Anonymous. I really wasn't going to do a video today because I have a lot of things on my plate that I have to be doing. But of course, a lot of stuff came out today. And so I figured, why not do yet another Twin Peaks Thought of the Day video with Mr. Jeremiah from Take the Ring. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
One of these days, I will have you on here, and we won't be talking Twin Peaks. I swear.
Hey, I'm not complaining.
No, I know, but I know there's so many things we could be discussing. But I did feel like enough came out today that we really need to inject our 2 cents into it. But
yeah, good stuff.
But before we get to that, I want to get to this, and that is about a month and a half ago, Aaron Cohen on Twitter posted something saying, if you are the first 8 people to respond to this, I will send you something. I was number 8. And I waited with bated breath for something to arrive, and nothing was arriving. And I said, Aaron, did I make the cut? And he said, you did make the cut, but I haven't mailed it out yet. So then I waited a little bit longer, and nothing came. And of course, with COVID, I don't want to go out there and go to my PO box all the time.
Yeah.
So then I said, Aaron, did you mail it? And he goes, I just broke my toe or my foot. I can't get to the post office. I was like, okay. Then he sent a message to me saying, I mailed it. It should get to you. But it took like 2 weeks to get to me from across the country. So now I'm opening it up to see exactly what it is. And it is Twin Peaks Archive trading cards.
Oh, nice.
Now let's open them up. Oh, it looks like he's already opened it. So I'm getting the rejects. Wait, hold it. It looks like, what is this? Okay. So first up, there's a pin. So that's nice. All right, now let's take a look at the cards we got. Okay. Aaron Cohen, you're a classy dude. So, okay. So, I kind of make jokes that it was opened, right? I forgive it because he sent me 2 Annie cards.
Nice.
That
awesome.
Is ultra class right there. So I will definitely be posting these up on the Twitter because that's awesome. Thank you so much for that. I was not expecting that. That actually was some thought. So I appreciate it.
That's awesome. Yeah. I'm a big old school. My brother and I, when we were younger, used to collect the cards, or just Marvel and all.
Are these original cards from the 90s, or is this like a reprint?
No. No. So the thing is, I might as well just reach out and ask people now. Like, basically, like every couple years, there's a couple of new sets that have come out since the Return came out, and they got autographs and things. So like, I don't know if they're reprints. I think that every few years somebody does. I don't know if it's Twin Peaks Archive or if he's involved with it specifically, or he kind of curated one set, and then there's another set that just, I don't know. I don't know the story with the trading cards. I want them real bad. I want some of the art. I want some of those autographs. I really want those trading cards, but I haven't had the time or the money to look into which set is which and when they came out, and is there stuff still available, and how much is. I saw that when the Return was out or right after, you could buy a box or a case of them, and it's not cheap. They're not cheap. So but I do want to so now that I don't know if you know, but I collect some of the people's autographs I'm getting my Secret History book signed when I go to conventions and stuff. So my goal now is, now that some of the actors have passed away, the people that have passed away, I'm trying to find their autographs either on cards or other. Like, I'd love to get a Miguel Ferrer autograph somewhere.
Just go on eBay. I mean, there's everybody's autographs on there.
Yeah, but that's no fun.
No, but I mean, like the people who have passed away.
Yeah. No, I know. I'm gonna.
I mean, somebody was selling, like an Easy Rider poster with Hopper, Peter Fonda, and Jack Nicholson's signatures. And I was like, well, that might be worth the money to get framed.
Oh man, how much was that?
Actually, it wasn't that much. It was under 500, and I was like, that would be pretty awesome to have on.
Yeah.
Especially with Hopper and Peter Fonda no longer.
I was gonna say that no one's. They're all gone except for Jack.
Yeah. All right. So next up, I have to show this to Jeremiah because I haven't even shown this online yet, and I was like, Jeremiah would love this. Cinema Sickness, the YouTube channel. Do you know Cinema Sickness?
Yes, a little bit.
He now does a lot of like shopping videos where he goes out to thrift stores and that type of thing. But he usually does. He used to do a lot of more stuff in his library where he's got like the biggest film collection I've ever seen. Anyway, so sometimes he like sells stuff on his store, and he was selling this one particular item, and I was like, "Is that what I think it is? Is that the real thing? Like, this isn't like new, right? This isn't the 2020." He said, "No, this is 1984, and this is pristine." And I said, "How much do you want for it?" And he said, $25. I said, $25. Okay, so I got the 35 millimeter trailer for Dune, the David Lynch movie. But this is the 4-minute trailer that we can watch on YouTube. Of course, I have no way of playing this at home on a 35 millimeter projector, but that's not the point. The point is us David Lynch collectors. I don't know how you are, but I know like there's a lot of collectors and fans out there. And, the idea is to get everything, to get as much as we can. I'm with David Lynch. I'm very much only get the stuff I really want, because otherwise I'll be flooded with, not nonsense merchandise everywhere. You know what I mean? So, but I was like $25 for an original Dune trailer. Yeah, that's worth putting in my collection. So,
yeah, that's amazing.
I know, and especially since you're a huge Dune fan.
Yeah.
I was like, I have to show that to you.
Yeah.
But it got me thinking too, because let's see how I'm gonna do this here. Because this morning I woke up to, let's see, is it this one? I think it's this one. Yeah. So this morning I woke up to Kyle MacLachlan's post here.
I saw that.
Showing the VHS tapes. And what's so funny to me is I used to have all of these. I mean, I got rid of all of them the moment, Laserdisc and DVD and all that. But I mean, Blue Velvet, I bought that when I was in 8th grade. I got that at the Warehouse music store. Of course, there's the original international pilot for Twin Peaks, Fire Walk with Me, which is so funny because like we all owned it, and yet it was one of those movies that didn't have a code, so you could just copy it from VCR to VCR. Showgirls I owned. I have a hilarious story about that movie on VHS. One day I'll share it with you. And Dune, and it's just like this just flooded back my memories of collecting VHS tapes before I got into Laserdisc and DVD, and of course all the new stuff. But were you ever a VHS collector?
Oh yeah, my whole family. So I don't know how many I owned that were just mine. I definitely both those Twin Peaks and the full box set. But I mean, we had, like everything. And then when Suncoast or when Letterbox started coming out, and you had the like Blade Runner director's cut,
right?
And Natural Born Killers director's cut, and when they started doing widescreen. So it's like me and my brother really started getting into that. But I mean, we had a whole, like that bookcase back there. Like we had a whole rack of crap we copied from the video store, another 2 or 3 racks of stuff that we actually bought. I mean, just Last Mohicans and Star Wars and all the Indiana Jones and all the Jaws movies. Or we had Jaws 1 that we bought, but 2, 3, and 4 were copied from the video store.
Right. Well, that's appropriate. That's appropriate.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So, I mean, I can Batman, all the Tim Burton stuff, Lethal Weapon, Die Hard.
Batman and Lethal Weapon 2 were interesting because those were priced to own. So like they immediately, you didn't have to copy it. You could find those in the grocery store like the moment they came out on VHS. So
yeah, it was wild. I did watch the rest of the video with you and Joey, and you guys were talking about how it seemed like the time between, someone made the comment, the time between Fire Walk with Me and Lost Highway felt like a decade.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually like a couple of years.
It was 5 years. But
was it 97?
Yeah.
Okay. But I think the soundtrack dropped in like fall of 96.
Yes.
The soundtrack came out beforehand. Anyway, my point is that back then, because you were young, I assume we were, because I was younger, like, I mean, I remember when you were like, well, this movie to buy it is $90.
Right.
You remember that? Like, and then, so you would have to rent stuff. You'd have to rent certain things, copy certain things, copy some stuff off TV sometimes if they did it. But then pricing to own came out, and there was pricing to own, like, well, kind of like now where you'd have a tape and it would be, 25, 30, $35. And then the price to own stuff were like, when Tim Burton's Batman came out, like everybody had it because it was like $10 or $15 or $20 everywhere. And you could buy it at Kmart and Walmart or whatever. It's, well, that was like a thing. They didn't do that with every movie.
No, well, that's because you had to make over $200 million to get price to own.
at the box office.
Yes.
Yeah, like the draw. Oh, interesting.
So that's why Batman and Lethal Weapon 2 got in there. The first price to own. Do you know what the first price to own video was?
Let me think. Jurassic Park.
No, because that's 93.
Oh, that's 92. That's 91.
No, Jurassic Park's 93.
Batman's 89.
Right. The first price to own was the making of Michael Jackson's Thriller.
It makes sense. Interesting.
And that thing flew off the shelves, because
we copied that.
Yeah, they used to play it on VH1 all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a John Landis, Michael Jackson invention. And they were like priced to own. What are you talking about that? And just it flew off the shelves. But yeah, that comment though about it felt like a decade. It did feel like a decade because at the time, I remember when I was in college, 94, 95-ish, and I was down in Southern California, I would ask about David Lynch. Now, of course, this is right when the internet, the email was first, just between colleges at that time. And I remember thinking, what happened to David Lynch? Because we hadn't heard from him since Fire Walk with Me, because On the Air came out before Fire Walk with Me. And the rumors going around Southern California was he was done. He had retired. And that the white fade out at the end of Fire Walk with Me was to bring it full circle to the white fade out in Eraserhead. And it was his conclusion film. So we were under the impression he was done. And then when Lost Highway came out and he did the interview with Charlie Rose, and he talked about how he got the initial idea of Lost Highway while he was directing Laura being killed in the train car. The night, October 31st, 1991, was the night that he came up with the initial idea of a couple receiving videotapes.
That's right. Yeah.
And then everything, all the O.J. Simpson stuff, that was all later. But that was the initial thing. And I remember thinking, wow, to go from October to 91 to whatever was summer of 97, that's a long time to go. That's like Kubrick time, but
retired, semi-retired Kubrick. Yeah.
Right. And I think that, he was trying to figure out what I know people love Fire Walk with Me, but at the time it felt like he needed to come back, and kind of do something that was going to catch people's attention. So that's why it shocked me when Joey and I were going through the box office returns on those movies and going, Lost Highway cost $15 million and only made 3.8. Like, I remember that film being much bigger than $3.8 million at the box office. Because do you remember when that movie came out? It was pretty much like David Lynch's back. Trent Reznor's with them, and this is gonna, 3.8. Like, I would have thought it would. I would have thought that if it lost money, I figured it would be like $1 million under what it cost, not 3.8 to a $15 million budget. That's insane.
It's funny when you brought that up too. I'm at home. So I was at work today and I kind of had like one headphone on and I was like, oh, I'll see what Cameron and Joey were talking about. And you got into the Lost Highway stuff. I'm like, so when I was so stoked for Lost Highway because, like I said, I kind of missed the Twin Peaks bus like 92, 93, 94. That's when I started like really getting into cool music and David Lynch stuff and Blue Velvet. And I got into Twin Peaks by 95, by 96, I had absorbed all the David Lynch stuff. Twin Peaks fanatic, absolutely crazy about David Lynch, absolutely crazy about Nine Inch Nails. Trent Reznor, Nine Inch Nails is my favorite band, completely obsessed, 15 years old. They come out and David Lynch is making a new movie and Trent Reznor's doing the soundtrack. Oh my God, this is amazing. And I'm pulling up the March of 97 cover of Rolling Stone is Lynch and Trent Reznor. And so I was so stoked. I got the soundtrack. I knew all the bands that introduced. That was the first time me and lots of people heard of Rammstein, first of all. Right. And now I'm like the biggest fan, whatever. So I'm waiting for this movie and I'm waiting for this movie. And again, boys and girls, this is before the internet. So it was like, okay, there's this movie. And I think David Lynch and Trent Reznor are the biggest thing in the whole world. And Natural Born Killers, I just went and saw in 94 in my hometown. And basically Pulp Fiction. And now you've got Fargo and the Coen brothers. And basically what I'm saying is my small Indiana town, not small town, but decent sized Indiana town is basically getting every movie that I want to see. The post Pulp Fiction Renaissance indie films are playing at the Cineplex, right? Your Miramax stuff. So waiting for this David Lynch movie to come to my theater. And then it's like, hey, wait a minute. Wasn't that supposed to come out? Yeah, basically like that was like a select cities like limited release. So when you said it only made so much money, I'm like, I know that you did say like, well, that movie was everywhere. You're right. Cover of Rolling Stone. Everyone was talking about it. Everyone was super excited about it. I was super amped for it. Couldn't believe whatever, but like it didn't come to my town. Like you had to go to like, and I found out about it later. You had to go to the 1 or 2 theaters in Indianapolis where I live now. But back then I didn't. You had to drive. I would have had to drive 2 hours to the one theater in our biggest city to see it play at like an indie theater or whatever. Like it wasn't playing at the AMC's. It wasn't playing at the Goodrich's. It wasn't like, I never saw it, never played in my town. It came and went like that. And you know what? And then because this is speaking of video stores, it took over a year for it to get a home video release to be able to rent it. So the movie that I could not wait to see in like middle of 96 or whenever I heard about it, it was like 1998 before I actually found it in a video store to rent it. And I took it home and I watched it and I went, okay, like that was super weird, whatever. But I'm like, now I'm like a senior in high school. I'm kind of into different movies and different music. And I'm kind of like getting ready to graduate. And I'm like, yeah, okay. All right. Was this worth waiting 2 years of my life for? Yeah. Like, I don't know. So it wasn't till I revisited that movie when I was like 25. So let's say like 2005, I rented it, or maybe it was on DVD by that point, or maybe it was 08 whenever it came out on DVD. I'm like, yeah, this will be cool. I'll check this out again. And then I watched it. I was like, oh man, this is great. This is totally up my alley. I mean, I still love the soundtrack. I listened to the soundtrack like 1,000 times. I know every song on the soundtrack. You know, but that's my Lost Highway story. Super stoked for it, and it just came and went. And then I had to wait another year and a half for it to show up in a video store. And by that point, I was like over it. So that was the biggest case of like movie blue balls ever.
It played in my neighborhood family theater, and because this was in Monterey area. Played in the movie theater right next to the town where they shot Turner and Hooch, and it's also where Mayor Winningham lives, and is where I grew up. Anyway, it's called Pacific Grove. But anyway, I was just getting into I was an adult, so I took a lot of my work money and bought myself a Laserdisc player. So when Lost Highway came out, I was like, because at that point, tapes were not widescreen.
Right.
I remember I managed a video store, and when Armageddon came out, I took the call from the distribution warehouse, and they said, "Do you want pan and scan or widescreen?" I said, "Well, widescreen." Right? The owner of the store chewed me out for like 30 minutes. Nobody rents widescreen. Everybody wants to see. No one wants to see black bars. Okay. I'm like, this is the future, mister. And he got really pissed off that I bought 23 copies of widescreen Armageddon because he said you need to place 23 orders. Anyway, so I picked up Lost Highway on Laserdisc. It was it's a 2-disc, so you had to flip it 3 times. But I did have the automatic flipper, so side 1, 2 could flip, but then I had to put in the 3rd disc. What was strange is the 3rd disc literally begins about 15 minutes from the end of the movie. So it's like the break. You know what I mean? It's like you're like almost to the end, and then it's just like, here's your 3rd disc, and it's like the last 10 minutes of the movie. It was so random and strange. But much like Lynch used to do, there are no chapter stops. You just had to so it's like if you put it on pause and you got a phone call and you came back, you had to restart the disc and fast forward to the place you were. He finally Fire Walk with Me, the DVD, the New Line DVD had chapter stops. It didn't tell you it had chapter stops, but you could hit next and get to it, I believe. But then Inland Empire was like the first one he signed off on to actually have, again, not chapter stops, but you could go to next and get to something.
Yeah. So I remember Mulholland Drive. So like I said, Lost Highway kind of fizzled on me, but Mulholland Drive, when that came out, was that 03 or 01?
01, and then the DVD came out 02.
Yeah. So 01 was by that point I graduated high school. It was probably 2021. I was living in like Chicago suburbs, and that had a huge like 30 theater multiplex. So they were getting cool. Basically, I could see everything that I was close to where I worked. And I went with my girlfriend at the time, and that was back. Well, whatever. You used to go to the movie theater and like these giant. You'd be like, I don't know what I'm seeing,
right?
But my girlfriend and I are going to the movies on Friday after work, and we're gonna have dinner and a couple beers, and we're gonna walk across the street, and one of these 30 movies is gonna be good or interesting or whatever. So I saw a lot of movies just kind of on a whim. Blade 2 and Reign of Fire.
So you were one of those people that walk into the theater, go up to the ticket person and be like, what's playing? Or would you actually look at the marquee?
No. Like I knew I was always into movies. So like I knew, like when Lord of the Rings came out, like I was waiting for that. When the Star Wars prequels came out, I was waiting for that. But there were times where like, I mean, sometimes I would see 2 or 3 trailers in a week that I thought looked interesting. So
right.
like, oh, there's this kind of low budget sci-fi movie called Pitch Black. I saw that trailer the other night when I was watching whatever. That looks interesting. You know, but the new, I don't know, Saving Private Ryan or whatever, you know, there's always like big stuff and then there's kind of like medium ground. Now you go to the theater, like everything's huge. This is either the giant new Pixar film or the giant new Marvel film or the giant new Disney film or whatever. But back then you could go and like there'd literally be 30 movies, all different shapes and sizes. You could see foreign films with like, you know, I mean, you still can, but you got to go to like art houses to see. I just saw Color Out of Space and Midsummer and Shin Godzilla and like all like there's lots of cool stuff coming out, but I have one theater to go to, like the arts theater, you know, the stuff that actually carries indie stuff in my town. Anyway, went to the thing and I was like, oh, Mulholland Drive. This is that new David Lynch movie. Like, and she's like, what? I'm like, he's this director I really like. He hasn't done anything for a little while. Like we gotta go see this. Cause if I don't see it tonight, it's going to be gone. And, so we got to go see it. So we went and I dragged my girlfriend to Mulholland Drive, who never saw a David Lynch movie before, had no idea what was going on. It was a disaster, but I loved it. I thought it was awesome. And I bought the soundtrack. It's classic Angelo soundtrack. And, yeah, as soon as the DVD came out, I went out and bought it. And I think that was the first Lynch. Everything else I had on tape. I had Fire Walk With Me on tape. I had Dune on tape. So like, yeah, no, you couldn't skip around.
No.
I was like, oh, where's that dumpster? That weird dumpster scene. Where's that? Or, you know, where's the part where they, you know, the car accident? Where's that? I'm like, oh, this is like, I don't know if Prince's album Alphabet Street. When he put that out on CD, he wanted the same thing. He didn't want people to be able to. He wanted it to be an experience. So that was a CD that you could not skip to different songs. It was one long, 48-minute track. Mm-hmm. So I remember putting Mulholland Drive in and going, crap.
Right.
This sucks.
But I did like it that like depending on when you put every time you went back to the menu, it either was Naomi Watts or Laura Lena Hart. Like it kept switching the menu between the two.
Oh, yeah. No,
and I thought that was fun. And, there wasn't anything on that disc except the trailer, but I love that trailer. And I would love to say from the director of Twin Peaks and Blue Velvet. And I'm like, wow, they're really still cashing in the Twin Peaks, huh? Like, even though he came out and said Twin Peaks is dead as a doornail at that time, they're using that to promote Mulholland Drive. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're talking about he hadn't made a film in a while, and I was like, no, because The Straight Story came out in '99, and the ironic thing was that Mulholland Drive, I believe, was shot before The Straight Story, because I think it was '98ish that he shot Mulholland Drive for ABC, then went to shoot The Straight Story. Mulholland Drive didn't get picked up, so then they completed it.
Are you sure The Straight Story was '99?
Yeah.
Hey, you're right. Yeah, so that one I think I totally missed. Like, I remember seeing it like in a video store, and I just had no interest in that at the time. I mean, sorry, now I think it's amazing, but when I was 19 and like, you can watch a new crazy, hyper violent, sci-fi weird movie, or you can watch this, or it's like you go in the video store and there's a million choices. Like, do you want this G-rated Disney movie? Yeah, no, I don't want to. Like, I'm a big fan of and I'm still kind of this way to a lesser extent, but like, if I'm going to sit down and watch something. I know I talk about Twin Peaks and movies and crap all the time, like on the internet, but in the real world, I have a lot of other stuff going on, and I don't watch a lot of TV. I don't watch a lot of TV shows. I kind of know stuff through like osmosis and people talking about it, but like, I have to like really want to watch it. I have to I have to hear about it and say, oh, that sounds interesting. And maybe I make a note about it or something. And I was kind of the same back then. It's like, You want to see Braveheart, this crazy, super violent movie full of battle sequences and what just won the Oscar? Or do you want to watch David Lynch's new G-rated Disney movie about a guy that drives a tractor? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it had to like hook me. So that's why Mulholland Drive at the time was like, oh, cool. I saw a trailer for this. He's getting back into some like weird, surreal, psycho, sexual, weird stuff. This will be cool.
All right, I'm gonna put you on the spot right now. The LA trilogy of mistaken identities: Lost Highway, Mulholland Drive, Inland Empire. I'm gonna ask you two questions. Which is the best film in the trilogy, and which one's your favorite film of the trilogy?
Mulholland Drive is the answer to both.
To both,
like, kind of like no question. I mean,
what is it that elevates that one over the other ones? Like, what gives it the edge over Lost Highway?
I think that, like you said, you accused Lost Highway of being pretty slow. And I think that's correct. Like, now that I know kind of all the ins and outs, and I've got all these little tiny things in Lost Highway that I like look forward to, and like I really enjoy the build up with the tapes and the this and the that. But you're right, it's slow as shit. That movie is super slow.
I don't really care that it's slow at all. I just think that I remember, because I went back and rewatched it too, and I remember thinking, God, this feels so 90s. And I guess it is supposed to be a specific kind of moment in time, but the majority of Lynch's work is like timeless.
Yeah.
And so that's what, again, I don't say that's a negative. I'm just saying it's what makes it the outlier.
Yeah. But I think you're right. I think that the fact that it's got a lot of, I wouldn't call it pop music, but like, it's not moody Angelo music. You've got your Nine Inch Nails and your Rammstein. Like, I think that he really, and again, you're kind of right. Like, it is kind of 90s. If Lynch made a 90s, it's kind of like his Natural Born Killers. It's kind of a commentary on the time, and but I still love it. I mean, like, a lot. Like, I really, really, really like Lost Highway a lot. Now that it's been years and I've seen it several times, and like, I enjoy it. I think that it's funny and scary and weird and gross and super erotic, and I love the cast. I think Balthazar Getty's great. It was the first movie I saw Bill Pullman in that I was like, oh, okay, like, he's got more to him than just like kind of what I thought. I mean, Serpent in the Rainbow was cool, but like, in my mind, he was the president from Independence Day, and but I was like,
which also co-starred Robert Loggia.
That's right. Yeah. But Loggia's in it. I mean, Patricia Arquette's kind of like, I would call that, I don't know. It's weird. Like, I don't think that that's her best performance. No. I'm a big fan of her. Yeah. However, when I think of her, I think of that movie just because it's mostly just images, because she's blonde. She's the blonde and she's the brunette, and her dresses, and she's sexy, and it's weird. And like, I don't know. So it's not her best performance. She doesn't even really say or do that much, but like, visually, she's like almost in every scene, because she's either in his mind or you know what I mean? She's in it a lot. So when I think of her, I think of Lost Highway. Anyway, so all of that aside, Mulholland Drive is just, that's one of Angelo's best scores. I think that's what blew me away the first time I saw it, honestly. Like, in a lot of ways, it's his simplest. There's really not, the magic of Angelo is he can play like 3 notes, 3 notes followed by like maybe 4 or 5. And it's the simplest stuff, but I don't know what it is. It's the tone or the pace or whatever, but it just hits you. It just sucks you right in. Like some of that Twin Peaks music is not necessarily, I mean, I call that a little bit more unique, but the Mulholland Drive stuff is like, it's like, no, no, no. It's like 3 notes that just descend a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of the main pulse of the theme or whatever. So it's not like incredibly profound, but like, man, it stuck with me. I immediately went out and bought the soundtrack, and like I think it's one of Angelo's best soundtracks. 1, 2, Naomi Watts she's amazing. She is amazing. That was the first movie I probably saw her in. It might have been her breakthrough. I think it might have been her first American movie.
It wasn't Children of the Corn 4. That was not her breakthrough movie. She's the lead in that.
So first of all, speaking of like meta and weird and layers, and you know that scene where she's auditioning,
right?
And there's all the build up to like how she thinks it's going to play, and she's practicing it with Laura Herring, right?
And it's all playful.
It's playful and silly, and then like she gets in there, and then like she totally steps up to the plate and nails it, but like the tone is different, and she totally like owns it. So she's like, I don't know, like there's so much going on in that scene.
Mm-hmm.
Based on your expectations, her expectations, what's actually going on in the scene. I mean, that's like almost kind of like that's acting. It's like, I mean, and it's the essence of acting, and it's the concept of acting, and it's the audition process. I mean, it's like literally all of Hollywood. Expectations, everything, like all that shit is right there in that one scene. And even without all of that stuff, it's a great scene. Like how it works if you were to remove that out of context and put it in a different movie, just like 2 people, whatever, like the romance, whatever, sexual tension or whatever, it would still work. But in the Hollywood movie, it's got all this stuff going on around it. Anyway, I remember just being floored by that scene, and I watched it recently, and I still love that scene. It's incredible. So you've got her performance, and on top of that, I'm sorry, but like the dumpster scene, that is the scariest shit I have ever seen in a movie. To this day, it still terrifies me. I know what's coming. I know I've seen the scene a million times. If I sit down and watch it right now, I still get anxious and all of that, the buildup. That's quintessential Lynch. That's quintessential like mood and tone, and like, and it's almost like it's like Mark Twain or F. Scott Fitzgerald level. Like, you know how many movies are about Hollywood, and they might make some good points, or they might be like entertaining or whatever. But like that movie, it's Hollywood. It's the dark side, the light side. It's the glitz and the glamour versus the violent backstabbing, deal making. It's quintessential Lynch. It's the best of Angelo. It's amazing performances. It's there's the like social commentary, if you want to call it that. I mean, I don't even think there's that much in it, but just kind of like, again, like how the movie industry is, how Hollywood works. But even without all of that, it is a good mystery. It's a good, I don't know, just like basically everything about that movie is perfect, I think. It's timeless, like you said. Like it opens with the doo-wop or the 50s style dancing, so you've got that timeless. Is this in the 50s? Is this the 60s? Is this the 70s? Does it matter at this point? It's scary. It's violent. It's erotic. It's everything about that movie is perfect. So when people are like, "Oh, this is considered one of the best movies of the new millennium," I'm like, "Yeah, it should be." I rarely agree with critics and stuff, but people are like, when those lists of the best movies of the century start coming out, and I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely, it should be," because it's a perfect film, basically.
It's so good that sometimes I wish it hadn't been a film, because I would have loved to have seen it as a TV series and seen just where it was going to go.
Yeah.
Naomi Watts would have been a TV star, not a movie star. Isn't that interesting? But you talk about that acting scene. It's great. It's phenomenal. But I will make this point about it. That is the type of scene you write for a pilot or a TV show. That's because Lynch doesn't write that specific when it comes to theatrical films. But because in a pilot or a TV show, you have to fill up the space. You know what I mean? So you have to like flesh out every moment you have. And because that scene is so specific, I can't think of another scene in a theatrical film he's directed that is that specific for that length of time. So I think that scene exists because it originated as a TV property.
Hey, well, there you go. I mean, I'm perfectly willing to admit that,
I really think that Lynch and TV is a match made in heaven, because I think it brings out the best of both of them. You know what I mean? I think he brings out the best in television. I think television brings out the best in him sometimes,
it makes sense. It totally makes sense. I never really thought about it that way. But yeah, I mean, there you go. I mean, it was the internet, I had the internet, but it wasn't like, basically, I didn't know that it was supposed to. I mean, I had read that in an interview, maybe like, "Oh, this was going to be a TV show." Like, okay, but then, I mean, now it's like years and years later. I'm like, oh, they actually filmed most of it as a TV show, and it was written, and then they didn't pick it up, so they decided to finish it out as a movie.
Yeah,
and
you can totally tell where it becomes a movie too, because that's where the nudity and the language kicks in, is right after they put on the wigs and they look inside into the mirror. That's it. That's the end of the pilot. And next scene, they're having sex. So
Well, I mean the Silencio theater.
Yeah.
I mean, amazing.
That's not in the pilot.
No, I know, but like just another like
it's great. It's great. And especially the Laura and Ronette double in the theater, it's fantastic.
Yeah. Coco, Michael J. Anderson, Angelo as the shallow movie executive with the cappuccino scene, and you know what? I didn't get 90% of it when I first watched it. Like I said, I'm 20 years old, going with my girlfriend. I just wanted to see it. When it switches, when she becomes Diane or whatever, like I'm completely lost, and just feeling when the cowboy shows up and the Silencio and all that stuff, like I had no idea what's going on. And I always say that, like, everyone still struggles to define Lynchian. What is Lynchian? Mm-hmm. Is it the mood? Is it the music? Is it sound design? Is it the no dialogue stretches for 20 minutes? Is it the way? And my definition of Lynchian is more like anecdotally speaking, like Lynchian to me is I have no idea what is going on, but I'm terrified or I'm overwhelmed. Like the Silencio thing, like I had no idea what the hell was, like no idea what was going on in the movie.
But you can't take your eyes off of it.
No, you can't take your eyes off of it. And she's singing the Roy Orbison song. Oh, yeah. Rebecca Del Rio. That scene, first scene in the theater when I'm watching it, the Silencio scene, I was like, that woman is one of the best singers I've ever heard in my life. And I still feel that way. She has a real voice. Like, you know, I'm into music and whatever. Like, and I have such a like a low tolerance for like pop. You got to remember at the time, this is 2001. So it was Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera and like all these little like 70-pound little white girls. They're like everyone's, oh, they're amazing. Like, and I'm like, no, they can't sing. This shit is garbage. You know, like I had a totally sick of like pop princesses and Backstreet Boys and all these skinny white people thinking that they can sing. And when I went and saw Mulholland Drive, I was like, see that woman right there. That is a voice. That is someone who can sing. This is amazing. This is Roy Orbison in Spanish. I have no idea what's going on, but I am absolutely overwhelmed with just the awe of all of it. So anyway.
Another thing I think Mulholland Drive works more than, let's say, Lost Highway, Inland Empire. Again, I'm not trying to knock those movies, but it's about Los Angeles, but the approach was Twin Peaks. Like, it almost seemed like, I mean, it's a different story. Obviously, it's a different idea, but it almost seemed like Lynch went in there and purposely, like, turned every character, big, small, minor, into gold. You mentioned Coco. You mentioned the cowboy. These are little parts, and yet they're so... The cowboy, to me, is like Dean Stockwell in Blue Velvet. It's just like, he's perfect. And he was going to be the original director of Wild at Heart, which is hilarious to me.
Right.
And in fact, if you watch the Criterion Blu-ray, Justin Theroux says that he couldn't remember the dialogue. Monty Montgomery is the cowboy. So on the alternate take, when they flip the camera around, Justin Theroux, from forehead to crotch, wore note cards with the dialogue, and Monty Montgomery had to just read it off the cue cards. And Justin Theroux was like, David, this isn't going to work. And then when he saw the film, he was like, seeing Monty's eyes locked on the note cards just gives it the creepiest feeling in the world. You know, like and the way he just says, have a good night, and just turns and walks away. You can feel everybody in the theater, a cold going down their spine at that moment. And you don't even know, because like he doesn't threaten him, but he threatens him. And it's he's not like, I'm going to break your legs, I'm going to do this. He's just like, if you see me one time, you've done good. You know what I mean? It's like, and you go, you know what? I'm not in Hollywood. I don't deal with people in Hollywood, but you know that once you get to that level of money in Hollywood, there are people like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And just I love the when Betty basically she's in love with Laura Herring, and then she's literally like at the peak of she's in love and everything's going great or whatever, and then they go to the party and then everything turns and you realize that Laura Herring's just using her and it means nothing to her, and this is like where she's basically, I'm going to marry the director because that's what you do, and we're going to have all this crazy sex with other women and this and that, and like, I don't know, like all that stuff just really really works for me. I mean, I hadn't even really had like I don't know, you kind of like feel the betrayal or whatever, but it's not even like, it's not even a betrayal. It's just like a big letdown because it's kind of how this stuff works. And again, you've got the Sunset Boulevard and the Vertigo and the Wizard of Oz. And I mean, it's really just kind of like to like dumb it down to like, it's the kid stays in the picture. Mm-hmm. Like this is, and I don't even think it's like like I said, I don't even think it's so much like a society, like a social commentary. It's just a story about Hollywood that really works. And
but it's universal too.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, did you see the other side of the wind?
No, that's the Orson Welles one, right?
Yeah,
I haven't
with
seen
John.
that yet. With John Huston and Peter Bogdanovich.
Yeah, I loved it.
I can't wait to see. It's on Netflix, correct?
Yeah, I wish it would have came out. If it came out like it did on Netflix, because I don't know if you know that they cut in a lot of rehearsal footage. They had to stitch it together. But it's the same kind of thing. Like I don't want to tell you too much, but like it's about Hollywood. So it's a director that's making an experimental film, but it's John Huston. He's kind of at the end of his days. It's kind of autobiographical about Wells at the time. He's trying to make something new and different and interesting, but are the young people really doing it better than him? Is he still the master? Is he throwing this experimental film together to try to be cool? Or is this really saying something because he's a master director? Is he getting old? I mean, I don't know. There's just like, there's so much stuff going on. And like Mulholland Drive, it gets into like the reality versus what's filmed. Kind of those lines blur a little bit. I don't know. I just really liked it, but I thought of Mulholland Drive a lot when that finally came out, just because it's like, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say Mulholland Drive. One thing it has really going for it is that Betty, Diane, whichever one you look at, her frustrations, her anxiety, her sense of jealousy is either better written or better acted. I'm not quite sure. And maybe it's just because in films you tend to relate more with women than you do with men. But I think that when you look at Fred Madison, you look at Bill Pullman in Lost Highway, it's the same type of thing, and yet either the material wasn't there or Bill Pullman, because he was kind of kept really kind of dark and sinister with that saxophone, I think that's what helps Mulholland Drive. I think Mulholland Drive says what Lost Highway and Inland Empire are saying. It just says it in a more accessible way. And because you kind of care about Naomi Watts, you kind of get into it more.
Yeah, I agree 100%. You actually care about her because, and that's the other thing. So Bill Pullman is, I saw it. I'm like, yeah, he probably did kill his wife. He probably did. Like, that's what happened. That's what they show it now. He's in prison for killing his wife. Like, am I connected to this person? Like, it's a different thing. But like
it's a different thing.
But the jealousy is there. The betrayal is there. Arguably, you can find out later. Like, basically, Bill Pullman was a frustrated jazz musician that married a former porno star and couldn't deal with the fact that she's probably still sleeping with sleazy Hollywood dudes, and he killed her. I think. I mean, that's kind of because later on you see her as the brunette again. You know what I mean? Right. When the reality and the whatever starts to blur, you see her again with the brunette hair, which is actually his wife. And there's all these kind of clues. It's like, I don't know.
Even Barry Gifford has said that the script and what they shot makes perfect sense, and then Lynch just took out those scenes that connected it. So
that explain everything,
right? Yeah. And if you look at the first half hour of Lost Highway, which is generally considered like one of like the greatest section of Lost Highway, even though people like Balthazar Getty, I think they like that whole first half because it's just so dark and quiet with them in the apartment and then dealing with the mystery man at the party and all that. If you ever seen Barry Gifford and David Lynch's hotel room?
No.
Okay. Well, that pace for that 30 minutes is the pace of their 90-minute hotel room that they made for Showtime. So when I first saw Lost Highway, I was thinking, oh my God, so David Lynch taking on a Barry Gifford novel is like explosive with like Wild at Heart. But when they work together, it becomes very quiet and contemplative. And I thought that was really interesting because that was 2 works of theirs they made back to back that have the same pace, the same tone, the same everything. But Lynch getting a hold of a Barry Gifford novel just goes crazy.
Right. Wild at Heart's not like that at all.
Not at all.
Yeah.
And the only time it slows down is when they get the big tuna, but that makes logical sense because they run out of gas and money. So
right. Yeah. And but back to finish up with Lost Highway or Mulholland Drive, it's like that's a testament to either Lynch or Naomi Watts. It's the I even kind of knew seeing it in the theater after the dance sequence and her starry-eyed arriving in Hollywood, like this is either a dream or this isn't how it happened, or this is going to get real dark real quick. You know what I mean? Like I basically knew that the Naomi Watts character was going to turn at some point. However, a testament to the tone and her acting, like you do get sucked in, you do care about her, you do, like I did, you do get you're happy for her, you're excited about the mystery that she's about to, you know what I mean? Like even though I could kind of tell like opening scene, like dance number, and she's arriving in Hollywood and everything's great, I'm like, oh man, this is going to get real dark. I can tell.
Because the next thing that happens is that Badalamenti theme kicks in with the car going down the road, and you're like, okay, this is.
Well, yeah, but but like that's the Laura Herring thing. I'm just saying, like her like innocence, Naomi Watts is like it's palpable and kind of contagious. And I remember when it gets real dark. When the whole thing kind of turns, I just remember being like, what?
That's when she's masturbating, crying at the same time. It's just like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, like okay. So final thought on Mulholland Drive, I guess, is just Naomi Watts is so great. And I feel bad because I'm a guy and growing up liking Indiana Jones and Ghostbusters and Star Wars, and like as a guy, like I always relate to like guy characters. So when people are like, oh, who are your favorite actors? You know, I'm always like, it's Harrison Ford or what, you know, whatever it is, like, because it's people that I related to and characters that I liked. And so I always get thrown when people are like, who are your favorite like actresses or like female actors? And I always like have to stop and think. But like now at this point, you know, 40 years old, like she's in my top 5, like of all time, men or women actors. And I realized I couldn't quite put my finger on it. And I think that she is able to represent like the tone of a movie maybe better than I mean, basically all actors are good, to be honest. I like more than I dislike. There's only like 10 actors that I really don't like. Everyone else I think is great. But Naomi Watts is one of my favorites because like Huckabees, the David Lynch stuff, The Ring, King Kong.
King Kong.
She knows how to, she understands what the film is. In her mind, she's able to figure out, it's probably the director's testament too, but like it's almost like she can see how it's going to end up on screen and plays it just perfect. Like she is able to like I Heart Huckabees, like that existential comedy weird. Did you ever see that movie?
Oh yeah, and I've also seen the outtakes of the director screaming at Lily Tomlin.
Yeah. That's crazy shit. Anyway, that's a different thing. But Naomi Watts is this like kind of straight lady who gets kind of all wrapped up in the stuff, and she frees her mind, and she gets all loose and wild and esoteric as the movie goes on. But I don't know, like and Janie E, perfect example. Like, what is the return? Is this supposed to be scary? Is it supposed to be interesting or just weird? Like, that's my biggest issue with the return is I still can't put my finger on like the tone of it. So like some scenes I know that they're trying to be scary, but I think this is kind of silly.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's other scenes that like everyone else thinks is dumb, but I think I'm like super fascinated by these scenes. And what do you do with Janie E? What do you do with, okay, this is Dale Cooper, and he's basically an idiot, and you're his wife that treats him like a normal person, but you're also the normal person in that, like, she's concerned about money. She's concerned about raising the kid properly. She's the one that goes and fights the loan sharks. She's, like you said, she's one of the only people with an actual arc in the whole story. So like, I mean, I would say that Matthew Lillard and Naomi Watts, and maybe Ed and Norma, they don't really do so much, but like just kind of ground the whole thing in some sort of like realism. Like I don't know where to even start. Where would you even start if David Lynch was like, well, you know, so you like your husband's like he's an idiot and he's not going to be able to talk, and you're just. I think she's kind of over the top. Yeah, it's kind of comic booky. It's kind of theatrical over the top, but she's kind of normal.
Well, she starts over the top. She starts over the top, and then she starts letting down her guard more and more, and it also has become because she starts becoming nicer to Dougie as it goes on. So that by the time he says goodbye to her in the casino, you're totally on board with them as a family unit. In fact, I don't know about you, but I remember when I was first watching that, I was thinking, I'm not going to be surprised if Cooper sends his tulpa back to the FBI and he stays with Janie and Sonny Jim. You know what I mean? Like I was like, are they gonna hint that, because they're leaving everything open ended here? Are they gonna hint that we don't know which Cooper went back to her? No, they make it very obvious that it's the tulpa that went back. But I thought maybe they were going to leave that open ended too, so we don't quite know which one went back to her. You know? But no, I think that she's great. Yeah, 'cause she comes out just way over the top. But I think what it is it's like you've had to basically be the parent of two kids, Sonny Jim and Dougie. So you're you know, he's like, even though he's your husband, you know, he's kind of the older kid, the older stepchild. But I mean, if you look at the original incarnation of Dougie, the one that's there, you know, with Jade, I would have loved to have seen how that version of Dougie and Janie E got along. Like, you know, did he talk to her? Was he quiet like the other Dougie? I don't know, you know, because he talked to Jade.
Right. Yeah.
He was capable of having a conversation.
Yeah, it's true. I'm curious about that as well, because he does have a conversation, but you know, I always took it as like he probably wasn't around. He was probably a big piece of crap, and he
looks like a used car salesman, you know, just kind of encyclopedia salesman from back in the day.
Hey, it looks like you got scolded in the. You got scolded in the chat. Are we talking about Twin Peaks today or what?
Oh, you know what?
I pulled up the chat. Sorry. I normally don't. When you're talking to me, usually I don't ever look at the chat, but I was like, I'll pull it up.
It's one person, and this is, you know, this is not, we don't usually get that comment. So,
but yeah, no, speaking of, we should probably talk about the cool stuff that happened today.
Yeah, well, let's get into this. So first up, let's take a look at the trailer for Laura's Ghost, which is an upcoming book. I'm gonna hit play here in a second. Let's see. Okay. All right.
Yeah, good stuff.
I don't know Courtney. Do you know Courtney, who put the book together?
No, not real well. We have conversed, maybe just comments on Twitter, like, "Oh, hey, check this out." Or, "Oh, cool, thanks for sharing that," and like that kind of stuff. She seems very amicable.
She's a professor.
Oh, well, it makes sense.
I do want to say that Courtney has created and put together a book. It takes a lot for me to go, that's a Twin Peaks book I want to get. And actually she put together a book that I want to get. So I've already pre-ordered it. That trailer, I'm glad she made it. That green text is very hard on the eyes. I can't even read a lot of the words though. But I think they were quotes from Grace Zabriskie and Jennifer Lynch and things like that. So be sure to check that out on the YouTube channel. Maybe you'll be able to read it better than I can. Yeah, so it's a collection of essays. A lot of people we know in the Twin Peaks community contributed to it. So that's really cool. And like I said, 10% of all proceeds go to like rape and incest charities and things like that. So that's pretty good. That Fayetteville Press, that's the people who put out the Blue Rose, right? And the other, and they put out the Twin Peaks on Rap book as well, I believe.
Yeah. So I am 90% sure that that's Scott Ryan's.
It is.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I really like that trailer. I was really excited to see that today because it's understated. I like that there's no dialogue in it. It was just kind of like ambient, calm music and just some simple quotes. And that makes me want to buy the book. So I did. I know that maybe it was the last time we talked, or I don't know. Last time I was online, I said I hadn't ordered it yet, but I did pre-order it. So that's supposedly they're in and going to be shipping soon.
Well, it doesn't come out till October, it says so. They probably got the
yeah. So maybe I don't know. I don't know what's going on. But all I know is I ordered it. They got the shipment in. They are packaging them up, but apparently it's going to be another few weeks before they actually come out.
Well, I got mine on Amazon, not through them. So mine's going to come at another time, probably. So.
Okay.
Probably if you order with them directly, you probably get it probably earlier than I'll get it.
I can't remember if I think I just ordered it through the Blue Rose site. So Fayetteville Mafia's got its own site. Blue Rose Magazine site you can order the Unwrapped book and Laura's Ghost and Women Talk About Lynch, and you can order all Fayetteville's Twin Peaks related stuff. I believe you can order through Blue Rose Magazine.
So Courtney's idea of putting this book together, I've been thinking too, like maybe it's time that I put something like this together. Not necessarily women talking about Twin Peaks, but I know a lot of people in the Twin Peaks community who would never be asked to write something about Twin Peaks. And I've reached out to a number of people. I haven't talked to Jeremiah about this. He's like, what are you talking about? But I would like to kind of put together something of this nature, because I think there is room out there for everyone to have a voice, and because everybody can contribute to it. It's one of those few shows where everybody can have a voice about it and probably be right. So,
yeah, I think that's cool. Yeah, that would be cool. I mean, would you pick like a topic?
No, I just want
just like general thoughts.
The only thing that I would make sure is that nobody was writing about the same topic. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't want 5 chapters about Pete. But let's get also to the other big news that came out today. Let me get this person's name here because I want to give credit. Bo Wisniewski. Now, yeah, I don't know this person.
I don't either.
But he apparently did something where he typed up the script. Now, these aren't the actual script pages, right? These are he like just transcribed the show, correct?
Yeah, basically he transcribed all the parts of the return and formatted them like, in Las Vegas, interior, casino,
right.
Dougie Jones walks in, like he annotates
right.
And then the dialogue is word for word with all the characters and stuff. So it's kind of like if a season 3 script existed in pieces like television scripts,
right?
This is what it would be. So,
but it's not what it would be because there's so many things that are cut out of that. I guarantee you, there's like 5 hours of deleted scenes.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's what ended up being represented on screen,
right?
Or like dialogue and interiors and exteriors.
Yes,
exposition, basic exposition, but it's good. It's cool. I downloaded all of them. I saw John Thorne tweeted it or retweeted something. It was like, oh, I use these to reference for the podcast. And I look back and it was a tweet from like 2 years ago and he had started working on it. And then he replied to the tweet like yesterday or 2 days ago and was like, oh, hey, remember I said I was writing all this stuff? You can download all of them.
Right.
It's like, holy crap. So I went and downloaded them. And so I started following this guy yesterday or 2 days ago because of the scripts. And then today he's like, hey, is it
hang on a second. So he dropped this today. Now this isn't his creation, but he let us know about this. And this is Twin Peaks BUF, and it's this as an effects company, and they dropped this today, which these are the it's promotion art. What is it? Concept art for season 3. So let's go through these real quick. Here's, I'm assuming, Judy,
the experiment. Yeah.
But notice how it has the mouth, the smiley face that's inside Mrs. Palmer. So it's like it looks like Laura's smile.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It also has sort of a Pan's Labyrinth kind of feel over here.
Yeah, that was my first reaction to it was that. It's definitely kind of a Guillermo del Toro thing. Note that it doesn't, and I don't think any of these arms are backwards in any of this concept art. If you notice,
this arm is backwards. Her right arm here is backwards.
Are you sure?
Well, she's got it turned.
Yeah. Like
basically
the final version of Judy, like the flying one that vomits Bob in part 8, like her arms are literally bent backwards, like they're reversed, like the elbows bend out like that.
So here's Judy attacking Salmon's Tracy.
Yeah, that picture's awesome. I was like, oh yeah, that is super awesome.
All right, let's keep going here. Here's more Judy concept. Again, this whole smiley face thing.
Yeah.
And we don't ever get to see Judy this clearly, right?
No.
And then what is this thing over here? Is this supposed to be like a companion or something? Is it over here?
Yeah, I have no idea.
No idea what that is. Here's more.
Oh, look. I think you're right. Okay, this arm is kind of faced backwards. The left arm, that almost does look backwards.
Right.
Because there's that whole arms bend back, but then there's the whole spiritual mound. Remember, the finger is the thumbprint, the fingerprints reversed, whatever. Anyway, but yeah, you're getting into that smile stuff.
But see here, this is not Judy. So is this like where there's supposed to be others? You know, like,
right?
Like, was she gonna have like a whole minion thing? I don't know. I mean, look at this. Or are these all potential concepts for Judy? And then they decided on the one they wanted, because I mean, this right over here is getting into Blade 2 with the open mouth over here.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. These are all super like Del Toro like, which I dig the hell out of. Just amazing. Right.
I'm going to put the link to these in the chat if anyone wants to check it out. This is buf.com/design/Twin Peaks. So, all right. So let's keep going. So here's more. Again, it's like, I don't know if these were all supposed to be Judy or if these were supposed to be like, you know, she had like a little dog or something. I don't know. But yeah, it's very Del Toro. And then, okay. So this must be, I'm almost wondering if this is what they.
Like the maquette.
Well, yeah, what they did for the CGI for the part 8 when she's coming down and.
Mm-hmm.
Because that CGI was so perfect that it was like it had to be model and CGI together.
And so this one, the hands are reversed.
Right.
See how they're upside down?
Right.
The thumbs are pointed down instead of pointed up.
Right.
So you've got like the backwards arm.
Right.
Yeah, that's badass.
And there's another one. You get to see like her veins coming through. And then, so wow, so they had like different molds for her.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably
It's probably what?
I was gonna say this now that we've seen these multiple shots, like they might have just done it all digitally. I mean, back in the day, they would build,
but they probably computer scanned this for the.
They probably built one and like scanned it and then put different textures and colors on it.
Right, because I'm almost wondering, it's like is she going through different phases? Or were these all presented to David Lynch separately, and he just chose which one he liked? Okay, so here's the thing that throws everybody.
They spent 200 hours on this, on just that, and he went and he went, it's gonna be in black and white. Doesn't matter.
so here's you know what? There's probably are just concepts for Judy, and because these are all different for the frog moth.
Yeah.
Now the reason why I'm kind of moving fast, because
there's
a reason why. And that is where is it?
This one.
The idea of having an owl face. Now, we didn't get this in the show, but it has an owl face over the flyer frog moth. I mean, that is unreal.
That's awesome.
We never really got like a close up of the face of the frog moth, right? I mean, it just kind of looked like a giant moth, basically, when it came down to it. What you got?
Oh, nothing. Just.
Do you think they should have kept the owl face on the moth?
I don't know, but I think it's cool. I mean, I'm glad they changed. I'm glad they changed it. It's a little on the nose, but it's cool. It's like the owls are not what they seem like. Maybe the owls are kind of minions of Judy again, like the beacons, if you will. Right. You've got an owl flying over Dougie Jones's house. Maybe like she's keeping an eye on him. Owls are kind of her sentries, if you will. So I think it's cool.
Yeah, no, completely. Okay, so let's move on here. There's some more shots here. It is on the nose. I am glad they changed it, but it's just as concept drawings. These are pretty awesome. I mean, if you really want to talk on the nose, you mentioned Rebecca Del Rio. Nothing drives me more nuts than her wearing a Black Lodge dress during that song in season 3. I'm like, it's such a beautiful song, but then the fact that she shows up wearing the chevron floor on her dress, I almost ran out of the house screaming when I first saw that. I was like, come on, you can't be this much on the nose. All right. Oh yeah, so this is getting even more refined.
Oh yeah.
This is like Cronenberg meets David Lynch here, because it's like because you do have like the frog legs in the back, and yeah.
See, the coolest thing about all of this stuff is that I just never thought that. I mean, of course it makes sense. Like, of course you have visual effects companies, and of course, like, everything has behind the scenes and things. But the fact that we just like never saw this, I just never thought I'd see this stuff. I don't know why, because every other movie puts out this kind of stuff, and every other visual effects company puts out this kind of stuff. I just never even thought to like, hey, I wonder who BUF is or Buff is. Like, I'll go check that out. And just never even crossed my mind. And I saw that tweet today. I was like, holy shit.
This is a missed opportunity for Showtime, to be honest, because this should be
a
one
t-shirt.
No, not a t-shirt. This is one hell of a coffee table book that never happened.
Oh man.
I mean, if we get the art of Star Wars, why aren't we getting the art of Twin Peaks? I mean,
exactly.
These pictures are so good that I would plunk down money for a coffee table book of this type of stuff.
I would pay $50 to $75 for a giant full color art book of all the conceptual art.
So look at this.
Sure.
So this is the first one here, but I want you to look at like up here, like at the castle top, and look how it evolves.
Right. I noticed that too. I couldn't even tell.
It's very Dune. It just is.
Oh,
it looks like House of Trade. Look at this.
Yeah.
I can't. This is kind of like what they ultimately went for, right? Because there were like, this is where kind of on this side over here on the left side of the screen. This is kind of like where Cooper kind of dropped in from. It makes me. I wish he could have gotten out of that room and like walked down the staircase and gone out there, and because this looks very Star Wars to me and very Dune.
Oh yeah,
this looks like something you'd see on Tatooine or something like that.
Yeah, this would just be amazing.
Yeah, it's just like different shades of purple, and here we are back at that. I love these. These are great.
Yeah, it's a just amazing find for the day. It was a great Friday present.
Yeah,
for me.
Well, Cooper always says, "Give yourself a present." Well, sometimes we can't give it to us, but sometimes someone gives it to us for us.
Yeah, I'm curious if. I guess I should just ask Bo on Twitter, but like, did they just post those today, or did he just find those today and share them, and we're all seeing them?
It seems like he just found them, like they've been up. Because sometimes people put up things on their Instagram from like the original series or something, like, and it's like, oh yeah, this was a costume designer from the original series, and they just, here's 16 photos they put up on their Instagram that no one noticed, and here they are,
Yeah, and then you find them like a year later or something. Yeah,
I think what happens is that there's always people Googling Twin Peaks on the images, and then all of a sudden these new pictures show up, and then people click on them and they go, oh, look at this account that's got all these pictures that no one's ever seen. And
yeah.
But yeah, missed opportunity. Maybe they can rectify that. If Showtime's out there, I know they've watched my videos in the past. Please put out. I don't want just these. I want the whole show. I want to see like everything. I want to see, give me the blueprints for the Red Room. Give me everything out there.
Yeah, or just some giant. Like if you're gonna do a giant coffee table book, like some giant full page, just like like an art book, just the shots of the Red Room. Like the giant carpet or the giant floor with the thing, and do like, interior, when they go do these location scouts or when they go scout locations and stuff, like, somebody went to Tweeds in 2015 and had to take big pictures. Like, this is what it looks like now. We got to go back to the production designer, like, what are we going to do? What are we going to propose to them? How are we going to redo this? What are we going to, like, giant before and what did Tweeds look like at the beginning of 2015? What did it look like after they did it? Like, big images, big full color, high res pictures, concept art, the glass box. Like, dude, like, I want a giant still. I'm not talking like a screen capture. I'm talking like somebody was there with a $5,000 camera that took a picture of this set when it was done. I want that picture in, like this big.
What if Tweeds, I mean, I know this was never going to happen, but what if Tweeds had said no? Would they have just reconstructed the diner set from the series?
I was thinking about that the other day, because what if somebody said no? I mean, what if the Palmer house was tied up in some sort of bankruptcy or litigation, and it's like, well, are we gonna fight with a bank and lawyers and mortgage companies for 6 months to try to get permission to, what I mean? Like, what if the Reavers didn't live there? Well, what if that old lady had died, and what if she didn't have any money and her family? You know what I mean? Like, what if the Palmer house was all?
Well, they would have just hopefully have gone to they would have gone to the other house from the series.
The Monroe house. Yeah, that's true. That'd have been wild if they did that.
In fact, I sometimes I go, wouldn't it have been great to show Sarah Palmer living at the Palmer house we see in the movie, but then when Cooper takes Laura back, it's the house from the series. Like, that would have been really crazy.
Yeah, everybody's brain would have melted even more so. Even more than it already did.
Like, if they had walked up to the doorstep of the Fire Walk With Me house, which, of course, the interior of the Fire Walk With Me house is the interior from the pilot.
Yeah.
But if after Alice had shut the door, if they were walking away from the door, kind of like when Cooper leaves the motel room and we realize he's in a different motel room.
Yeah, and he looks back and it's different.
Right. What if as they were walking away from the door, they were walking away from the Monroe house? Like, that would have been amazing.
Yeah, that would have been amazing.
So anyway, don't want to keep you for too long, but I do want to say thank you so much for joining again. I felt like this was way too important to just ignore until next week. I think a lot of people out there who aren't on Facebook, aren't on Twitter, who don't know about this kind of stuff, I want to make sure that they all can get their Twin Peaks fix for the day. So
yeah, and everybody pre-order that book, and I don't want to diminish anything else that's in the book, but a big selling point for me is Grace Zabriskie wrote an essay about Sarah Palmer, and to me, that's going to be worth it. The only reason I say that, I found there was somebody else, I don't remember who did it, but somebody after the return, it was after or during the return, some guys interviewed her, and it's really great. You can find it on YouTube somewhere, but they don't ask her great questions, and they don't really do. They don't do a great job at it, but she does her best to like give some honest, good answers to stuff. And so I bet her. Oh, and I absolutely love the Between Two Worlds extra feature where Lynch interviews Sheryl Lee and Ray Wise and Grace Zabriskie. If you guys haven't seen it, David Lynch interviews the Palmer family actors as the Palmer family, and it's only like 10 or 15 minutes, but it's really cool.
It's only on the original Blu-ray. It's not on the Criterion.
Right. It's not on the Criterion. It's on the entire mystery box set DVD, and it's great. You got to watch that. But I'm expecting a lot of insight, some insightful comments, and Jennifer Lynch, probably the first time, like in a long time, like concretely talking about the diary, I assume, or getting into. I mean, there's a bunch of things in this book that are going to be really cool, and I'm excited for it. And
well, I like the fact that it's taking people from inside the show and allowing them to elaborate, and I hope they really do a deep dive and not just give us peripherals, because we don't want to be too specific because it's David's vision, and I want them to go, okay, You know, if Mark Frost can do his thing, I want to do mine. You know, I want them to, you know, I don't want a 3-page thing. I want, I want a Sarah Palmer 25-page, just who is Sarah Palmer, you know?
Yeah. And she knows. That's the cool thing, is like, Grace is one of the few. I'm not saying that she knows all the ins and outs of Twin Peaks, and like maybe not as geeky. Like, look, the reality is some of the actors, it's a job. They think it's cool. They like it. They're happy that it does well. They're happy that people like it. But like most of these people aren't getting into the deep meanings and the rabbit holes and what does it all mean and this and that. But like, I think Grace does. Like, she totally gets the Palmer family. She totally gets Fire Walk with Me. She totally gets what that movie was really about, its reception back then and how it's received now and what it's really about. And I think she gets Sarah in The Return. And I think the comments that she made in that interview and the comments that she, in her little scene that she acts out with David Lynch in that featurette, are really, really good. So I'm just, I don't want to pinpoint anybody specifically, but you know what I mean, right? Yeah. There's some people that are just like, yeah, I played this character and it was fun, and I'm glad people like it. But like, Grace Zabriskie understands what the show is about. She understands David Lynch. She understands her characters, and I think that she thinks like deeply, because a deep and spiritual connection to all of this crap, which is what you want, especially with a show like this. I mean, Sheryl Lee as well. Like, I don't know why I'm not even bringing up Sheryl Lee, just because it feels like everybody knows that she embraces Laura Palmer. She goes to all these shows and events. She meets with trauma victims all the time. She's the sweetest lady ever. She's open. She does all the featurettes. She does all the interviews. So again, not taking anything away from Sheryl Lee. I'm sure whatever she has to say will be great. But Grace is someone we don't hear from very much. And she's actually writing an essay. So I'm excited.
But it will be interesting to see what Sheryl Lee has to say about Laura Palmer post season 3.
That's true. I mean, I interviewed her and met her post season 3.
Lucky.
Yeah. So, but yeah, no. I agree. There's a million reasons to get this book. It'll be a good read. I'm excited. I'm actually trying to get through the Mark Frost book just so I can read like 6 books right now.
It's funny you mentioned the Between Two Worlds. When I got that Blu-ray set, I immediately went to Lynch talking to them as actors. I did not want to see him interviewing them as the characters. I refused to watch it. Mostly because season 3 had not been released or even sent out there. So I was like, I don't want the last thing I see of Twin Peaks to be David Lynch in a restaurant interviewing the Palmer family. You know what I mean? I thought, if anything, it's like, why are you talking to them in a restaurant? Shouldn't you be like in a quaint living room or something? But then once season 3 was announced, I went back and watched it because I was like, okay, cool. Now there's going to be more. So, let me see. But I just didn't know. I was terrified of it. I was like, really? We're going to go back and interview them in a restaurant? I don't know about that. And I don't remember everything they said. And I know David Lynch wrote what they said. It was not spontaneous.
Yeah, no, they acted it out.
And yet, maybe I'm wrong. I can't remember. I don't think anything they said really applies to what we got in season 3.
I will differ.
Okay, just remind me, because maybe I forgot something.
And it might just be like intuitive, but when I saw that in 2014 or whenever the box set came out, this was before season 3 was announced, and I watched that scene, and I watched Grace. Because he interviews Leland. We kind of know Leland's story, and we kind of know Laura's story. But when he talks to Sarah Palmer, and he says something like, well, what has your life been like?
She talks about the happy face.
Yeah, she's like, I put on the happy face when I go to the grocery store. But like basically like that was the first moment where I had a like a vision of what a new Twin Peaks would be. And that was my first seed. That was the first thing like planted a seed in my mind like this could be coming back. Like what she said and how she said it, and I just had an image of Sarah Palmer living on with all this pain and stuff. And that's when something started forming in my mind like they could be bringing this back. I can see this happening. Now she doesn't like put on the happy face, like it doesn't play out that way, but like she's at the grocery store and you know obviously she's got this trauma, and like her scene with Hawk, man, is like awesome. I love that. It's a great scene.
Well,
she
kills it.
Yeah.
And every scene that you of course I wish for more Grace Zabriskie and less Steven and Becky.
Yeah,
because there was that I think was it you I was talking with online about you know what she got with the grocery kid when Hawk's talking to her at the door, and you know, like someone was asking like, oh, is that Judy in the kitchen? And she's like, you know, talking to Hawk in the kitchen about it. And
yeah, it was me, and it's that interview.
Okay,
sorry,
yeah, because I was like thinking, I don't know, it plays to me like she attacked the kid, and he had just kind of was like woken up or was staggering around outside the kitchen, like losing blood or something like that. Because it kind of just feels like he had been attacked and he was like still dying in the kitchen.
Oh yeah, no, I always took that as I just watched this podcast recently. You listen to this podcast, and so this English guy was talking about how Lynch is the master of hiding things in plain sight, and this kind of goes along with the Twin Perfect thing. Like you got to pay attention to like when Lynch says like I mean it like it is, like it sounds like I literally think that was just something in the house with her. We don't know what it is, but like I'm watching Sarah react to something in the house. That means there's something in the house with her. That means that based on the context, like I know it sounds like someone knocked a glass over in the kitchen, but we're never going to find out what it is. But in the context of like, well, this Judy thing might be inside her now, or there might be, you know, like there's something going on here that's not right. And then finally with part 18, you know, Mary Reber's looking off screen, like there's something in the house with her too that we don't see. So I think that that's like a mirror callback. I think that's supposed to like mirror each other.
Well, you know, it was supposed to be the grandson.
Supposedly.
Yeah. And
you think so?
Well, I was told so. But it just didn't happen.
Yeah. Okay. So these kids, these guys, whoever they are in this interview I heard with Grace, they straight up ask her, what is that? And she's like, well, she basically says, I can't say. And part of that's I can't say because it's a David Lynch movie and I can't say. But part of it is like, you're never going to know anyway. And then finally she just kind of blurts out like she's like, there's evil in there. Like, I don't need to tell you what it should be obvious. Like there's something else in there with her and it's evil. She says something like that. And I'm like, see? Well,
you can totally tell that by when in 17, after Cooper gets Laura, when you hear those moans happening in the house, it's just,
oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's awesome.
That to me is one of the scariest moments because it sounds like she's literally dying in there, and then you know, and then she gets this. That's very much Marietta Fortune and Wild at Heart. It's she obviously becomes the Wicked Queen at that moment, you know.
Oh yeah.
Real quick,
that scene is great. Yeah,
it's so good, and it's great because she knocks off all the pictures except the Laura and Donna picture, which I always loved. And then she grabs the Laura picture, and when she's stabbing it, it's all backwards. So it's like, you know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, and it's not breaking.
It's not at all.
The frame breaks, the glass breaks, but she's stabbing the picture with a piece of glass, and it's unshreddable, or doesn't break, doesn't tear.
Right. So the implication is that she can't kill it, so she's gonna move. She's gonna move Laura somewhere else. You know. Sandra, real quick in the chat asks, where can we see your Cheryl Lee interview? He kept it to himself. He interviewed her. He's got a little tape of it, and he plays it nightly.
Let me double check, make sure it's still up. If you Google, okay. If you Google, so I work in the news during the daytime, so it's not a video interview. It's a print interview because she was coming to Bloomington for Fire Walk with Me screening, so I interviewed her. So if you Google Fox 59 and Cheryl Lee, it'll come up.
I'm just going to put it in the chat. Fox 59?
Fox 59, Cheryl Lee. It's called Laura is the One, Cheryl Lee Talks Twin Peaks.
All right, I'm putting it in the chat right now for people.
Yeah.
Cool. And so I was very happy you got that, and I think you got Sherilyn Fenn as well, right?
Yeah. So and then 3 or 4 months before Cheryl Lee came to town, Sherilyn Fenn was in town for a horror convention. So I interviewed her, and same thing. If you Google Fox 59 Sherilyn Fenn, it'll say something like, Sherilyn Fenn is coming to town, or walks through fire, or talks Twin Peaks, or something like that. So these are print articles that you can read online.
Yeah, that's great. So
that's exciting.
Yeah, I can imagine. I haven't met or interviewed either one of them. Sherilyn Fenn, though, I can get a coffee date with now. So
I looked that up. It's not expensive. I actually thought about it just for the hell of it.
All right. So where can people find you online? We have this. Do you have an Instagram though? I don't have your Instagram up here. So where can people find you on Instagram?
All my social media handles should be Take the Ring 430. So I am takethering.com will take you to my YouTube channel. At Take the Ring 430 is me on Twitter. Facebook.com/Take the Ring 430 is the Facebook page that you can follow. Instagram.com/Take the Ring 430 is my Instagram page.
Why are you doing all these 430s?
I think when I first was setting everything up, I wanted everything to be uniform. So somebody somewhere had to Take the Ring. Facebook.com/Take the Ring is some I don't know, some jeweler in New York or something. I don't know. I can't remember, but I was I wanted to work in the 253 or 430 or 430, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So there you go. So I wanted to pick.
Well, I find it funny because the YouTube channel is just Take the Ring. Everything else is 430.
Well, because takethering.com was available. And actually, I think I have okay, not wrong. I'm wrong. I do own takethering430.com domain name, but it's not pointed to the YouTube channel right now.
Gotcha.
So I wanted everything to be uniform. So if somebody Googled Take the Ring 430 or takethering.com, I tried to keep it all uniform. So all the socials, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram is Take the Ring 430.
Cool. Send me some of your subs, please.
Yeah, I don't know how, but I'll try.
Jackie here is a new person in the chat. Thank you for watching. It says, I now own the chevron dress that Rebecca wore. It wasn't chosen for her to wear. She went out and bought it for herself off the rail or off the rack, I guess. See, personally, I would have been like, no. It's way too much on the nose. If you're doing the whole meta thing, okay, I can go along with it. But it's just a no.
That's exactly what it is, though. So if that wasn't the case, somebody would have said, hey, but Lynch is like, my whole thing is just like the giant appears on the stage at the Roadhouse.
Yeah.
And Julie Cruz fades out and the giant fades on, and it's got the red curtains. I think the Roadhouse is all made of wood, just like the Great Northern, there's magic in the wood. I think that the Roadhouse itself is kind of one of those gateways or places where people might be able to get in and out. And if it's true that the doppelganger is out and it's screwed up all of the balance, and now the Black Lodge is actually quote unquote leaking into Twin Peaks, and that's why you've got the puking kid and all of that stuff. If all that crap is true, then the Roadhouse, besides the fact that it could all be in Audrey's head, okay, there's that. The entire thing could be in Audrey's head. And even the people that sitting, the booth conversations are all manifestations of Audrey's psyche, which I don't know if I believe that. I don't know. I just think the Roadhouse is a doorway or gateway or seam or crack leading to that other side, and everything that happens in there is subjective and or not real to begin with. So her wearing that dress, no big deal.
It's a beautiful song. The dress just took me out of it. I was just like, what is this? What is this? And who's the I don't understand in the Roadhouse why they play that song without the band. What is that? The one, you know, the one I'm talking about. I can't remember their names. You know, that band with the long beards.
Oh, ZZ Top. Why do they play the ZZ Top song with no? I know that is the weirdest scene. That's the weirdest scene in the whole Return.
I feel like they wanted ZZ Top. They said no, and then Lynch was like, "Well, we can still play the music." I think that's what they did. I really do, because I just to me, like, if you want to talk about the Roadhouse being like tied into the Black Lodge, like, imagine if Rebecca Del Rio had come out and done Sycamore Trees. Then I would have been okay with the dress, because then it really would have tied in with the Black Lodge. But because she's singing about nostalgia and take me back to where you know what I mean? It's like, I don't really want to think about nostalgia and the Black Lodge, because I don't want to go back there. You know? Yeah.
I always forget about that ZZ Top scene, and
it's one of those. It's I don't know which is weirder, that or when Lynch, for whatever reason, I know why he did it, but it just feels like filler when they play that cover of Viva Las Vegas. It's just like, why are we doing this? This feels like filler that you would try to just fill up the hour with, you know, rather than like an actual scene. That seems so non-Lynch.
That Sean Colvin Viva Las Vegas is on the soundtrack even. They put out, you remember there's the Angelo music disc. Right. There's 2 discs for the Return. There's the Angelo music, and then there's like music from the Roadhouse or music from the show. And yeah, the Viva Las Vegas track is on there, which it's like, I mean, it's fine, but it's like it comes in, it's real loud.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It almost like that's the one.
But it's also like just like travel shots, city shots, and it's just
right.
Like,
like those are those a handful of moments where I'm just like,
let me tell you,
just like, what am I watching? And I've told you this before too, especially when I'm making my videos. Like, it's weird. Like when I sit down and watch The Return, which I haven't for a long time. When I sit down, when I've seen it a few times, I sit down and watch it. I'm usually just kind of all wrapped up in it, and I don't whatever. But man, when I go to edit something, when I'm making a video and I like go to like one scene and pull out stuff, there's sometimes when I'm watching, I'm like, oh my God, this is just like I don't know. It just feels wrong. Like out of context. Like I remember I was pulling a clip of Ben and Beverly in the office, in Ben's office. Mm-hmm. It wasn't the hum scene. It was something else. Like they were just talking, and I'm like, you know, there's no music, and I kind of don't remember what part I'm in. I'm just pulling a clip from this one scene, and I'm watching it. And I'm just like, man, like out of context. Like I don't even know what this is. Like I don't know what I'm watching right now. And it's the same with the Viva Las Vegas scene. Because like you said, like there's that Viva Las Vegas scene, which seems like it's the cheesiest, I don't know, TV show. Or it's like the end of a 90s PG-13 like romantic comedy or something. You know what I mean? It's like super dumb almost.
Well, because
then
there's such a sophistication to the rest of it that when you get to something like that, you're like, what?
Yeah, because then the next scene is the cherry pie scene, but then the scene after that, like you said, it's the Mitchum brothers and Mrs. Jackpot's, the old lady, and the piano, and it's this like elegant, beautiful, like rich, deep, heavy kind of, and you're just like, that's like a mood scene. That's like a real scene. But literally, like Viva Las Vegas before that, it's just like, is this a dumb TV show? Like, is he trying to make? I always took the Dougie thing as like an AMC kind of, like, maybe not AMC, but like a, basically, yeah, like a TV comedy, like a not hotel, news radio. What was his show? What was the other show?
On the Air.
On the Air. Yeah.
I mean, Candy is very much like Betty in On the Air. You know, that ditzy 50s.
Right. So I don't know. It's just the returns like just all over the place. And again, it's another reason why I will criticize some movies because I'm frustrated because I don't understand the tone. You know what I mean? Like a lot of bad movies are just bad because it's like, am I supposed to be laughing? Am I supposed to be scared? Oh, this is kind of weird. Like, what's going on here? Normally that drives me nuts. And I just immediately go, yeah, this movie sucks because I don't know what to feel and I don't know what to do. But in Twin Peaks, I'm like, this is fascinating. I don't understand what's going on.
Well, because he's throwing so much in a single hour that you don't know which way it's going to go from minute to minute. You can be the most sophisticated scene, or you can give me Viva Las Vegas, which is like, that scene completely should have hit the cutting room floor, in my opinion. I'd rather see the giant in the Black Lodge from that scene that got cut out rather than Viva Las Vegas.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, that's it's you know, it's like Lynch is one of those people where it's like, I love him to pieces, but when I criticize him or some of the stuff in his work, it's only out of love. It's out of frustration and love. You know what I mean? Like if he came out and said, like, I don't need to know the mystery of Judy in the box, okay? But I do want to know the mystery of why he chose to give me a filler scene with Viva Las Vegas. Like, that's the kind of stuff that I think he owes us answers for more than other things that people want to know. You know what I mean? Like, why did Laura scream at the end? Blah, blah. I don't care. Okay, I can figure that out on my own. But you know, you need to tell me why you stole imagery from David Fincher's Seven when the Mitchum brothers and Dougie are out in the desert with the box.
Yeah, I know. I want to know why every movie you've made for the last 20 years is obviously influenced by Vertigo, but when you're asked about it, you're like, no, Vertigo's not an influence. Like, all right, I guess.
So the other day you were bringing up the Dorothy Wizard of Oz references and all that, right? Yeah. And it's like, and then after you left, I was like, oh, I forgot to tell Jeremiah because Dorothy's the name of Isabel Rossellini. Yeah, it's unbelievable. So obviously, Wizard of Oz is big influence. Surprise, surprise. And Elvis, obviously, right, because of Sailor Ripley and all that. But yeah. Oh, I got the 4K of Wizard of Oz. It looks stunning.
Yeah, I remember.
Stunning.
These are my parents. I didn't want to buy them. I knew my parents had them, and I said, "Hey, the next time you mail me something, throw in Vertigo and Wizard of Oz because I'm going to rip the footage. And next time I do a video about David Lynch, I can throw some clips of Vertigo and Wizard of Oz, who are his obvious influences that he denies are influences." It's going to be an interesting video, everybody. How am I going to?
You know, it'd be amazing to like be invited over to David Lynch's house, you know, have dinner, because I know I'd be searching his shelves going, I'm going to find Vertigo. I'm going to find it. I'm going to find it. Yeah. All right. So before we go, I just want to give out how people can find you. Obviously, you know how to find us on this YouTube channel, but we also have a Patreon, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Follow us there. This is exciting here. I want to just throw these back up that Aaron Cohen sent me. And what's really cool is I just flipped them around. This has Dale Cooper and Annie Blackburn like stories about them. Let's see. It says Dale Cooper fell in love with Norma Jennings' half-sister Annie, who had lived in a convent for 5 years. Annie was unprepared for a romantic relationship, but Dale stole her heart. They enjoyed a date on the lake, danced at the Roadhouse, and eventually consummated their relationship in Cooper's hotel room. Why don't they say, and Cooper subsequently failed, got trapped in the Black Lodge. And then we have this picture here. Then it says Norma Jennings and Annie Blackburn on this side. Says Norma greeted Annie with a smile and a hug when her half-sister arrived to start her new job at the Double R Diner. Annie was grateful for the opportunity. The Miss Twin Peaks contest presented a bit of a quandary for Norma, though, as both Annie and Shelley entered the pageant, and Norma could not split her vote. Okay, stop. Norma should have dismissed herself from being on the jury since her sister was running, right? I mean, if the mayor, if Lana could be in there with the mayor, I guess that it looks the other way. In any case, Norma fully expected to see one of them win. I was hoping it would say, in any case, Norma fully expected that Annie would be back at work the next morning or something like that. And so yeah, these are great, and I really appreciate that Aaron didn't just send me some random pack, that he actually sent me pictures of something that is near and dear to me. Which, by the way, I just want to throw out that I'm for those of you who are following the project, I am still editing. Obviously, it's coming along really good. I'm really happy with the way it's looking, the way it's feeling. I'm like, look, this is, it was a huge chore undertaking to do, but I think we're going to be okay. I think this is going to be something that, we're not going to look at and be like, well, that was interesting. I think, it's not one of those, whoo, it's like I finish a scene and I look at it and I go, okay, I'm really happy with it. Even in rough form, I'm really happy with it. So
cool.
That's,
like I said, at least it's in the can.
Yeah, because
I know editing's hard and all editing and post is hard, but shooting is 1,000 times harder. So you got as far as I'm concerned, the hard work's done.
If COVID had happened a month into it, the movie would have been canceled. I mean,
you'd have been in big trouble.
Yeah, it would have been over and done with. So anyway,
yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you everybody for watching, and we will see you soon. And make sure to give this video a big thumbs up. Take it easy. Have a good day.